A good namaste to all you viewers. Now, there are many applications that you can download on your smartphone or on your tablet that can be very useful for Indian classical music. Some examples include, for example, Shruti Box application, where you can use your smartphone as a Shruti Box, or an app that tells you what swaras a particular ragam take. One of the more useful apps is a tuner. A tuner app can be very useful, especially for beginners, but it is often not used properly due to a lack of understanding, and it's important to know the fundamentals going behind each tuner and how to change the settings so that it suits Indian music. Now, most tuners are based on the Western Equi-Tempered Scale. So if you want to use such a tuner, you really must have some basic understanding of what is meant by the Equi-Tempered Scale and how it all works. And you need to have a good understanding of the note frequencies used in an Equi-Tempered Scale. Basically, the notes in the Western system are fixed. The note C means a particular frequency. C4, for example, is at a frequency of 261.63 Hz. Now, C4 refers to the fourth octave in a piano. So the octave below, it'll have, the notes will be notated by C3, C3 sharp, D4, D4 sharp, etc. And the octave above that will be notated by C5, C5 sharp, D5, etc. All these notes, as I said, are fixed frequencies. Now, how do you fix these frequencies? Well, you have to start from somewhere. And most commonly, the note A4 is taken at 440 Hz. All the other notes are derived from A4 at equal geometrical intervals from it. The relationship between one note and the note before that is basically a ratio of 2 to the power of 1/12. Therefore, if you take the note A4 sharp, the frequency of that will be the frequency of A4 times 2 to the power of 1/12. Similarly, if you take the note C4, this will be A4 divided by 2 to the power of 9/12. Why 9? Because there are 9 half note intervals from C to A. Now some basic arithmetic. 2 to the power of 1/12 is approximately 1.06. 2 to the power of 2/12, which is the distance between, let's say, Sa and your Sud, Re or Chatusriti Rishabham, is basically 2 to the power of 1/12 multiplied by itself. 2 to the power of 9/12 is 2 to the power of 1/12 multiplied by itself 9 times. You saw that the distance between Sa and your Suddha or Chatusrita Devatam is 9 intervals. So in order to get to Suddha from Sa, you need to multiply the Sa frequency by approximately 1.68. Now, Indian instrument makers also use this standard for the bass note, Sa. A Shruti of 1 refers to a pitch C at the above frequency, or if it's a lower octave kind of instrument, then it'll be half times the frequency shown there. And if it's a higher pitched instrument, let's say a short flute or something, it could be 2 times the frequency displayed above. So when you turn on your tambura box and put the dial at C, the frequency generated will be 261.63 Hz. If you turn the dial to A, the frequency generated will be 440 cycles per second, or 440 Hz, or some multiples thereof. If you take the Shruti C as your Sa, then the note A becomes your Suddha, or in Carnatic music terms, the Chatusruti Daivatam or Da. Now, I'm going to illustrate to you what I just said in the previous slide. That there is an iPad with a Shruti Box app called iTabla Pro. That's going to play your Shruti. It's a wonderful app. Now, and that is a smaller tablet with a tuner downloaded. And that's going to show the frequency of the Shruti Box. Now, this tuner on the smaller tablet in front is a normal Equi-Tempered tuner meant for Western classical music. So let's see what it registers from the Indian iTabla Pro Shruti Box. I'm going to turn the Shruti down to C. There. You can see that the tuner is registering exactly C. And if you look at the frequencies, it's 130.8 and 261.6 because there are two strings in the tambura, one lower octave and one higher octave. Now I'm going to change the Shruti to C sharp. You can see again, it's the tuner is exactly marking it. D, again, exactly at D. D sharp, exactly at D sharp, which is the same thing as E flat. Now, if you want to use a tuner only for the purposes of testing your Sa, then you need to proceed no further. Any tuner app for Western classical music would be fine. However, a tuner is a wonderful instrument and can test how good your other swaras also. But to do so, you need to understand that Indian music scale is based on a different concept and that the equi-tempered tuner will not work for the other swaras. Now, you would have understood from the previous slides that the Western equi-tempered scale is based on succeeding notes being at equal intervals, and that the note frequencies are derived from taking one particular note, which is the A4 note at 440 Hertz. The Indian scale is very different. The Indian system is also called the natural scale, or a more widely used term is just intonation scale. Here in Indian music, you don't really worry about the exact frequencies of a particular note. You start with your Sa at some particular frequency. And then you build up all the other swaras from the basic Sa. All the other note frequencies are simple ratios of simple numbers to the base note Sa. So for example, your Pa is 3/2 or 1.5 times the frequency of Sa. Your Ma is 4/3 times Sa. Therefore, if your Sa is basically at a frequency of 300 Hz, your Ma becomes 400 Hz and your Pa becomes 450 Hz. Similarly, simple ratios, number ratios apply to the other swaras. Although I've shown you 12 half notes, which is the basic first division in Indian system, in practice the octave in Indian music is divided into 22 notes, not 12, having 4 notes for each of Re, Ga, Ma, Da, Ni. But this is a little bit more elaborate, and I don't want to get into the 22 notes system at this juncture. Now let's see what happens when you use a tuner based on an equi-tempered scale to play or sing Indian classical music. Suppose you're making your Sa as the note C4 at 261.63 Hz. And then you're playing, and then you're singing or playing the note Suddha or Chatusruti Daivatam, which is expressed as Da2 here. You would have noted from the previous slide that Da2, the frequency of that is 5/3 times the frequency of the Sa. So if the sa is 261.63 hertz, then the da too should be at 436.04. So when you use the tuner, you'd expect the needle on your tuner to show exactly the note A. But it's not going to do that because the tuner is thinking in terms of the Western equi-tempered system, and it's only going to show exactly A4 if the frequency you're singing or playing is at 440. So you're out by 4 cycles per second. So what does that mean? It means you cannot really use an equi-tempered scale tuner for Indian classical music unless you change some settings. So if you really want to use a tuner for Indian classical music, there are some prerequisites in choosing the right tuner. First of all, the tuner should have the ability to change from equi-tempered to just intonation scale. It also should have the ability to change the basis from A equals 440 to some other frequency. You may not quite understand what I'm talking about here, but the next few slides I'll try to illustrate this more precisely. You'll also need the ability to change the bass key. Remember, in Indian music, the sa, the bass key, fixes all the other swaras. So the swara notes will vary exactly where you fix your sa. And it's also very useful if your tuner can show not only the notes being played, but also the frequency, because you can really then measure exactly what frequency you're playing and how many cycles you're off by. Now, in a previous slide, I mentioned that you need to make 2 changes to the tuner app if that app allows you to do so. Firstly, you need to change from equi-temper to just intonation. And secondly, you need to change the basis of the note A to something other than 440. Now, what happens if you just change it to just intonation, but still keep A equals 440 as a standard? Then what happens is that your sa will not align with the Shruti box, because what the tuner app will take A as, or your da, suddha, as 440 and derive backwards your sa. And if you recall, your suddha chatusriti daivatam is 5/3 times sa. So to get back to sa from da at 440, you take 3/5 times 440, which will give you 264 cycles per second. Now, but your Shruti box is still singing at 261.63 cycles. So your sa is going to be off. So what do you need to do? Well, you need to change the A equals 440 standard to something else. And what is that something else? It's basically you take, because you're going to be singing or playing at 261.63 cycles per second, because that's what your Shruti box will sound at if you're singing at sa equals C. Then you're going to change the A to 5/3 times 261.63, which is 436.04. So you'll need to make that change, and your tuner app will need to have the facility to make that change. The tuner that I have been using is called Pano Tuner. It comes in as a free version and a paid version. The free version does not allow you to change any of the settings. The paid version does, and you can change the settings so that you can use it for Indian classical music. You do that by pressing the I button here, and that in order to enable you to change the settings. Now, I'm not saying this is the only or the best tuner app there is. I'm sure there are others which are equally good, and some possibly even better. I don't know, but this particular tuner app has worked very well for me. Now I'm going to demo to you with this tuner what I've just told you about the two settings you need to make. Firstly, I'm only going to change from equi-tempered to just intonation. So press the I button to get the settings, press this temperament button and change to from equi-tempered to just intonation. And key is C, because that's where you want to start all your sa is C. So you need to enter the key. Now you'll note that the first top one, the concert A, I'm still keeping at 440 Hertz. Now, this is the tuner. I'm going to turn on the Shruti box. At C. Now, you can see that the tuner does not show C at all. The frequency is being shown as 261.6 cycles, which is, we know, is C, but the tuner doesn't think that's C. It's exactly because what I told you before. So this means you need to change the other setting too. This means you have to change the top setting. You have to change the basis for A from 440 to something else. Okay, let's do that. So the top setting, it says concert A 440. I'm going to change the 440 to 436. Okay, now let's look at what the dial says. It's exactly at C. So that's how you use a tuner. You need to change these two vital settings. To summarize, you first need to change the settings from equi-tempered to just intonation and specify the key, which is your sa. Here we are using C as your sa. Secondly, you need to change the basis for A from 440 Hertz to something else. If it's C that you're going to be using as sa, then the frequency you need to change A to is 436.04. If the frequency you're going to use for your sa is D or something else, then it's a different frequency. And I'll address what frequencies you need to change for each of the bass notes, the sa that you're going to use. I really hope you enjoyed this video and got something out of it. Please do subscribe to this channel if you'd like more such videos on Indian classical music and or on bansuris and flutes in general. Thank you very much.